Hello, welcome to another edition of Insane in the Fembrain.
Insane in the
Fembrain.
I hope you've been enjoying the Insane in the Fembrain podcast so far. We've had some incredible guests. Coming up, we've got Sophie Willan, we've got Desiree Birch, we've got some great guests coming up, so do stay tuned for those. But this week, I was joined by Lizzy Bassham. And Lizzy, I met Lizzy through Jade. Jade and Lizzy were housemates a few years ago when we first got together. And Lizzy, she owns Lizzy's on the Green in Stoke Newington. It's a wonderful little cafe on the Green there. People in that area probably know it. Lizzy does so much for the community. It's not just a cafe. It's like she sorts out homeless people with a bit of grub and some teas, and she looks after people. She's such a caring woman. It's more than a cafe. It's a real hub, and this conversation was recorded at the beginning of lockdown, so it was still, we weren't really sure what was going to be happening, and Lizzy was a bit worried and was trying to raise some money to keep the cafe open, so that was sort of talked about at the beginning. She's just a wonderful person, and it was really nice to have a proper chat with her, because I know her through Jade. I've never really sat down and had a proper in-depth conversation with her, and it was an absolute dream. Although I will say this, it kind of went off in a direction of, I was asking her about periods and the body clock, and I want you to know that I don't want people to think I'm just some ignorant twat. I mean, of course I know what periods are. I know about the body clock, but I don't know what it feels to experience these things, which is why I asked those questions. So just a bit of a heads up, it does go down that road, but only because I really wanted to get to find out what it really feels like to have to deal with that sort of thing. And we really got into it. It was a really nice chat. Lizzy was great, and even though I've seen her since, and she was a bit like, "Oh, do people really want to hear about my periods?" I'm like, no, it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that I think many men as well, we don't really understand how it feels, what it feels like to go through that stuff, to have that kind of silent clock ticking away inside your body somewhere. And I know all women don't want to talk about that, but I'd never really spoken about it before. And Lizzy's a mate, so I thought she'd be the perfect person to do that with. So here's Lizzy Bassham.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's so lovely to have you on. This is the thing. We started this podcast because Jade and I were just sat around, and we realised that lots of women listen to the Insane in the Membrane. Mm-hmm. And then we were talking about women and my understanding of, and Jade seems to think that I don't know enough. I think she's right. So
that couldn't possibly be true, really.
So that, and then we were like, right, that's the thing, isn't it? The only way that men are going to find out about women and vice versa is we talk to each other,
yeah,
and we find out about each other, and from a non-judgmental position. Like this is an assumption that we should all automatically know everything about the opposite sex, and we don't. And so that's where this comes from.
I don't have the foggiest, so we're both doing each other a favour here.
Brilliant. How have you been in the lockdown? Are you all right?
Oof, it's been a struggle. It's been 2 months of up and downs. I know everyone's, felt the Corona coaster.
Oh, nice. I've never heard it called before. The Corona coaster.
It's been one thing after another. I mean, I also, on top of all the stuff to do with the business and having to shut my business, I live on my own in Tottenham, where none of my mates live, so I felt quite isolated myself while self-isolating. It's been a tough couple of months, but so glad we're coming out the other side now.
Yes, we're very lucky. Like, we locked in, like Jade and I and Paul Sweeney, so you've
got excellent haircuts.
Had each other's. Oh man, I didn't realise how important that was going to be. Yeah. Everyone's falling apart.
Well, thank God for my poor dog. I mean, that dog has been kissed towards an inch of its life, the poor thing, honestly. I don't know what I'd have done without him, to be honest. He's been keeping me going. It's been good to have some kind of company, at least.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I'm glad you got that, because, I know Jade would have been distraught if she knew that it didn't have anything at all.
I know.
So well done, mate.
Yeah.
Well done. So you've got the When did you start the cafe?
So the cafe started in July 2013. So fast approaching 7 years now of us being open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. I can't believe it's been that long. I was actually just looking through some old photos, having a bit of a reminisce about how far it's come along. So weird looking at old pictures of it and thinking, oh my God, did I think that looked okay?
Yeah, that's it. You don't realise at the time. I mean, when we look back at old photographs, I saw one the other day of me from 1991.
Oof.
And you're like, oh, come on, man, really? That's what you did with your hair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
There's
depress you with how
blonde
young I
tips.
was in 1991, but, we won't go into that one.
Yeah, and it seems more, actually, that's a great way to start. It seems there's more of a stigma attached to women's ages than men. Like, men are kind of applauded now for when they get older. Like, I saw this thing recently. Men in their 50s, it's like, oh, look at that, these amazing men. And women, it's happening in places, but it doesn't seem to be the same. Like, women are kind of, I don't know, there's not the same kind of celebration.
Well,
it seems.
I actually couldn't agree more. It's definitely really difficult when you make certain life choices at certain times. I mean, I started the business, so I was 29 when I opened the business. And, 7 years on, we're suddenly put into this, this is when I should be able to start sitting up and enjoying kind of the work that I've created and not be able to be there doing the hard graft, every single day, year on year. I should be beginning to be able to hand it over to another manager and start, being on the back foot a little bit. But now this has happened, I'm going to have to go, head first back into it again. And, you'd like to think that in the last 4 years of your 30s, you should be, really going for it, exploring the world, really making the most of it. And I feel like everything's been put on hold now. But that's not the same opportunity for a man as it is for a woman. There's certain choices that I'm going to have to make now, which is scary, and obviously, the classic one is the biological bloomin' clock, which I mean, I literally royally want to stick both fingers up to. But, there's lots of other things. I mean, fast approaching 40 and, clinging on to business to dear life doesn't actually seem that attractive, does it, as a single woman? That's not exactly something that you, eventually, when we can go dating again, that's something to bring to the table.
But it's the fact you've got your own business. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, I have to say, I've always been self-employed. I mean, ever since finishing uni, I think I've only ever had a boss once, which was when I was waitressing. I've always been my own boss. I think that I'd find it really hard actually now to be managed by anybody. So I'm at a little disadvantage there when I think, my goodness me, what else would I do? But I know. Having this break from the cafe has made me realise how much I love it, which is great. I've really re-fallen in love with, I guess, my own work ethic and what I'm trying to instill in, the people that have come to work for me. I've had, young girls that have come to work for me from the age of 15, like to get men young, but nothing like a bit of child labour.
Yeah, exactly.
and now they've gone to uni and, that's the best bit for me is, being a good boss and people realising that, if they go into the future and work somewhere that doesn't have good values and good work ethics, then they can look back and go, hang on a minute, it doesn't have to be that way. It should be fun. And, I'm very proud of the way we're running at the moment.
The good bosses will stand out. Having been someone that's worked for many people, I can count on one hand the bosses I've had where I've gone, oh, that was cool. They knew what they were doing. They were nice people. My boss, my first job when I left school was working for Curry's, the electrical people. Lovely. And the boss, Mark, when I started, gave me, for the first 2 months, he gave me his, what do you call it? When you do well at selling and you get, oh man, my brain's
like
terrible.
A star?
Oh my God, my brain's gone completely blank. Not bonus.
Commission.
No.
Commission, there you go.
Commission, thanks.
Well done, Paul.
Holy shit.
Paul's a businessman.
Oh my word, my brain has just gone blank.
So I got paid for the podcast.
Commission. He gave me his commission.
That's nice.
For the first 2 months to set me up. And I will never forget him for that. And I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Well, yeah,
So-
that's
and
funny you should say
that's
that.
30 years ago.
I mean, I've had I started working when I was 13. I used to, that was totally illegal, but, no one really cared back in the 90s. And I used to go and work at this local village pub. And I'd be a chambermaid, first of all. They had these huge bedrooms upstairs, and I'd go up and clean all the bathrooms, dust all the furniture, change the bedding. I mean, it was hard graft. And then I'd go downstairs and I'd peel all the vegetables for the roast dinners and then set up the restaurant, and then I'd help the service. And that was a hard job for a 13-year-old. And then by the age of 15, I was the dessert chef for this very busy country pub at the weekends. And but it just meant that by the age I was 18, I was managing a small patisserie in Winchester. And she was, Moira, who was the manager of that patisserie, was my inspiration. She must have been my age when she opened that. And she was a fantastic boss. She didn't patronise me in any way, shape or form. She just saw that I was keen to learn and gave me every opportunity to do it and let me be independent within the business. And I think that's was an absolute godsend.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I loved getting up at 6 a.m, getting to work at 7, saying hello to the shop. Oh, it's very important that you say hello and good morning and good night to the cafe. You've got to show it the love. And make myself a little cup of tea and start baking the croissants. I loved it. There are also some other perks being left on your own. I think when I left that job, her profit in Grand Marnier truffles went up by about 85% because I was just...
Yeah. I'll just have one. I'll just have one.
Just have one. One for you, one for me.
One for the shop, one for me.
That fell on the floor, kind of, into my mouth.
So it was lucky. It was lucky that... Well, not lucky. That you were introduced at a very young age to somebody that was... walking their own path, if you like.
Even in the kitchen jobs I had when I was 15, the head chef, Claire, she was a huge inspiration. She was like the first woman that I kind of looked up to. I just loved the way that we'd go, right, so what's on the dessert menu this weekend? And she'd just be like, let's make creme brulee. And she'd just make it. No recipe needed. She'd just go for it. And I used to look at her just with these starry eyes going, wow, you're incredible. And I'm sure that's made a massive kind of, in my subconscious, like that kind of, she was just so empowered in her space. The kitchen was hers. And she never once, I might have been just pot washing, but she always made sure I got an opportunity to come and see what she was doing. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Really good experience. So I just try and offer that to anyone that comes to work for me. I always say, you get back what you put in. And I think a level of perspective is quite good. At the end of the day, it's cake and coffee. It's not, we're not dealing with humanitarian crises and one thing and another.
No. But it's still, it's still important.
Yeah.
It's still... And that, do you find, I don't know, it seems to be, and this is just my experience, with men, it seems to be like they want to get into a position of, not power, but you know what I mean? They want to be top of the tree, they want to be in charge, and it's more of a dick-waving contest rather than they want to do a good job. Whereas with women, it seems to be, they want to do a good job, and it's not about ego so much.
Do you know what? I think that it's, I've definitely had experiences of the odd kind of, as you say, dick waving and one thing and another. And it's worse with the customers, to be honest, is the mansplaining of, oh, why don't you do this? Everyone's got a suggestion of how to make my business better without ever having worked in hospitality at all. I think it's quite interesting when people think they know, what it's like to work behind a counter when I think it should be, a national service is doing at least a year in hospitality for everyone across the board. I think that would make people a lot more polite and maybe not quite so, what's the word that me and Jade actually always like saying about entitled,
Oh, yeah. Entitled,
but, the first male employee, I remember I was actually, you have to make we all have a duty to make our staff diverse. I don't I'd happened to have quite a lot of women work for me, but I've always had men work for me. And I remember being very nervous of the first man that I employed in my very first shift with him. And I don't know why I was so worked up, but I think it was just I've had some gnarly experiences in relationships and things in the past. And I think I knew that I could not carry that into the workplace. It had to be separated. But if I was honest, I was a bit nervous and a bit scared. And I just thought, how am I going to get through this? And I thought to myself, well, you just got to try and make an effort to get on the same level as him and be his mate as well as his boss, for him to realise that you're not trying to be uptight or anything. And, we started the shift and I was a bit shaky. And then I just remember a bus going around the corner and tooted its horn and went, "Poof," and I went, "Oh, pardon me." And he just burst into laughter. And I was like, great, that's it. We're fine. We're through all the crap. We can just crack on now. And that must have been about 5-6 years ago. And he's still mates with me now. And, I've just been to New Zealand and we met up and we're still really good pals. And, I think working with men has helped my relationship with men. I think that I've been very lucky that I've had men work for me who have always respected me. And, I think they know that if they did start to get their dicks out, I'd quickly tell them to put them away.
Especially, I've been to your cafe. It's tiny. There's not enough room to swing your dick.
There's literally no room at all. Thank you very much. My boobs are getting bigger by the day, so there's only enough room for them. Thank you very much.
So that's it, isn't it? Your earlier experiences with men were negative, and then that sort of tainted your view on all men.
I think that's what's so tough, isn't it? I've gotten a lot older now. A long time has passed since anything, dramatic has happened with men. But it takes time to heal, and I wish that it had been. Obviously, I wish it hadn't happened, but it also means that I think the relationships that I make with men now are made from much stronger roots, really, because I do hold back a little bit now and wait until some level of trust can be built. And I think before, you know me, Rich, Jade knows this, I go in, I wear my heart on my sleeve and I go into most things at 190 miles an hour. But ever so slightly with men, I just hold back a little bit just to wait and see how the ground lies. And, I think that I've just been incredibly blessed, to be honest, in the workplace, that all the men that I've employed have been supporters. I actually do wonder if I did have someone come in that was determined to kind of overrule in some way how I would react to that, whether I'd kind of shoot off and be angry, or how I would manage that. I think that would be, I hope it never happens, but I don't want to be one of these women that become incredibly defensive. And I think that's part of the problem too, that's not fair on men either, that women shouldn't tarnish all men with the same brush. I think that's deeply unfair. But I can't help but be a little bit reserved in some scenarios.
Of course, and that, like you say, your experiences have shaped your view and your feelings towards men. But you're right about that. Like all men, it's that thing, all men, and you're like, well, there's not. We're not. I say this, all men are basically beasts, and myself included. I include myself in this. And this is just my opinion. I might be wrong, might be horrifically wrong. Men we get these thoughts when we first meet people. Can we eat it? Can we have sex with it? and these are all very basic, subconscious, tiny thoughts that we have, and they hit you in a millisecond. And then because we're a bit more, we're not animals. We work out. We go, no, that's not how we do this. This is a nice person. This is how we talk to this person. This is how we act in their company. And this all goes on like milliseconds. Yeah. This thought process. And I think, so yes, on a level, men are We are all the same. There's a potential for us to be wonderful human beings or absolute animals.
Yeah. And well, I think, I definitely think that, you know, I mean, everyone has that potential. I think that for women, I know for me, if that's what's going on in your subconscious, I wonder in mine, if my first thing is me assessing, are you going to hurt me? Well, you know, it's like, are you safe? What, you know, and isn't that awful? I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to think like that.
No.
I'm very much, you know, everybody's equal. And I hate that, I think there's times in my life that I've been like that, but I certainly wouldn't say that that is in every scenario. I think that unfortunately what happens to us shapes us, and I definitely wouldn't want to, as I say, you know, the same brush, all men, bloody men, all that, you know, I as much as I hold my hands up and say I'm guilty to saying that, you know, that's definitely not the way I want to ever be associated with. I don't think it's helpful for anything. It's certainly not helpful for the female cause, you know, that all women are man haters. That's not going to help anything, is it? I think, like you say, the best thing is talking to each other and getting a better understanding, because that's when you realise that all of this stereotypes is a load of bollocks. It's just about being a good person. It's down to you to, you know, reap what you sow, really. That's
right. Yeah, absolutely. Especially now where we are working out where our roles are now, because it used to be, you know, the man would go out to work and the woman would be at home with the kids and, you know, taking care of the house. And now those roles have changed, and now we're trying to work out where we sit and we're trying to get rid of all the shit that's been pumped into us over the years. I say this a lot, you know, I'm 48. I've had a lot of shit pumped into me, like, this is how society is, this is what your role is, and this is what the role of the woman is. And now it's all changing. Now I'm having to figure out, actually, no, that's wrong. Oh, yeah, okay. You know, do you know what I mean? We're trying to work it out. And
it's not a question of whether it's right or it's wrong. I think it's just about realising that everyone has a choice. And, you know, I blooming love to not work anymore and stay at home and make the house nice and bake all day and have an allotment and garden, and someone else go to work and pay for me to do that. I've worked my ass off since I was 13. I'd like a break, thank you very much. You know, it's like, and that's fine. I certainly don't think that that's me, that it shouldn't be like that. You know, I think it's down to choice. And, you know, if anybody said to me, well, you're the woman, so I assume you're going to stay at home, I tell them where to go. I'd be like, absolutely not. I think it's, as long as everybody just respects each other's choices, and each choice is, you know, made available, because that's the real problem. It's when things like paternity leave aren't made at equal measure to maternity leave and that kind of stuff, that for women that do want to go back to work, you know, they don't have the same rights in some respects. And also the judgment, you know, I just wish everybody would get on board with it, basically. But, you know, it's, like you say, this has gone on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, since time began. You know, the baby looks like the dad, so when they're first born, so the dad recognises it as its own and doesn't leave. I mean, that's isn't that crazy? That's a real thing. And but, you know, we know more than that because we're educated. So, you know, don't be ignorant, have a choice and let everybody else live their lives. For God's sake, let me live.
I know. Yeah, that's it, is it? It's this people piling on other people going, no, it's wrong. Society should be this way. And everyone, you know, men should be quiet now and know your place and blah, blah. And it's like, that doesn't help anybody, because there are some men that like that, you know, they don't, it's not control. It's like they want to be the breadwinner. They want to be, they want to look after their family. You know, they want to look after their partner, and, you know, and again, she might want to be at home doing, like you've just said, you know, looking after the house. And some people want that, and it's like, fine, let them have that. You know? I
think the only problem is that we are, you know, we are living in the patriarchy, and that's the main problem, isn't it? Until that level is, you know, slightly equalised, that's why any of these decisions are always going to feel uncomfortable. And, you know, I mean, Christ, I was just watching Donald Trump earlier being interviewed by his own in-house correspondents, and the way he was speaking over the women that work for him for the better, their in-house correspondents, and the way he was treating them was just so disgusting. And I thought to myself, my God, that this man is, in the top power, looking over these women like they are dirt, and that's the message he's giving out, and that's coming from number one.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know this, don't we? That's nothing new.
But do you think that's what it is? We're basing, like we talk about the patriarchy a lot, but we're basing that on like the top 1% of men that are in power. We're going, do you know what I mean? It's like, right, that's what all men are like. And when, like we said earlier, a lot of men aren't like that. Well,
of course, and I think I think it's also really, there's some really horrible statistics out there, and if you're going to go by the statistics, I think it's something like, men are miserable, and 45% of male deaths are through suicide. That's terrible. But then also the biggest killer of women in the world is men. So you think to yourself, right, are men miserable, and that's why they become maybe dangerous and aggressive? Or what is going on? It doesn't mean 45% of men are depressed, therefore, we need to focus all our attention on that. We should be drawing attention to the fact that women aren't safe in the world because of men. So what is happening here? It's a huge picture. Certainly nothing I can cope with. I run a shack in a park. These are
exactly. We're just trying to get by.
I'm just trying to get by. These are definitely not issues that I can cope with. I mean, I'm just aware that they're going on, and I think I have the odd conversation with some customers that come up, and I often think, my God, if I was a man owning this business, there's no way that you'd speak to me like that. And I get that a lot, and I have to stand my ground, and that can get quite exhausting. It's quite often that people will see a smiley face on me, and then I'll turn around and I'll be like, wash up, and thank God for my 3 years of drama school training. I mean, geez, my staff laugh at me so much because I'm always, smiling 1 minute and turn around and like, the most blue words will come out of my mouth about people because, but maybe that's a problem though, that I'm not fronting it, and I find confrontation possibly the most terrifying thing in the world. I'm no good at it. If anyone even says to me, if they question, have I upset you by blah, 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 I don't ever go, yes, you have. I found it disrespectful. I go, no, not at all. No. I'll probably end up going, no, it was my fault. It was my fault. When really I should just own, if someone's willing to apologize, I should own it and go, actually, it did hurt my feelings. I'd rather like you didn't patronize me or, mansplain that or whatever, but I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to that kind of thing.
Well, I'm the same. I've done that over the years. I've gone quiet, and then I've not dealt with the person that has done whatever they've done to me. I've gone and taken it out on somebody else. I've gone home and then been moody and shit to someone else, and rather than saying to that person, I don't appreciate that, to be honest. But now I'm older, I'm able to go, can you not speak to me like that, please? Yeah. And it's and doing it that way rather than going, do you want to take this outside, you fucking? There was never this middle ground. It was either I go quiet and not say anything, or I'd rear up and go, right, let's fucking have it. And that doesn't. Neither of those scenarios work.
And they're not healthy, are they? I mean, that's that's what happens when that's what leads to people being miserable. It is like squashing all their feelings down. I mean, I'm avid fan of therapy, like absolutely. I don't know what the hell I've done without it the last 7 years. If you think about how many people talk at me and to me every day, and how many things I take on. I'm a sensitive person. I tend to feel everything, and I fully empathize as much as I can always, and it doesn't do me a huge amount of good. And you have to talk about things to be able to get better. I mean, you're either getting aggressive to someone else, or you're being aggressive to yourself by not actually vocalizing stuff. I tend to take on too much, and then I break, and that's a problem. I need to learn how to stop stop taking on too much before they spiral out of control, really. That's something that I'm still learning to do now.
Yes. I found that the power of no, or not even no, just going, if someone says, can you do this? Go, yeah, but I can't right now because I've got this and this. But once I've done this and this, I'll be able to do that. If you just give me a minute, I find that has helped me rather than, because I used to be the same. I'd say yes to everything and I'd let so many people down that, my mate pointed out, I mean, he goes, stop saying yes to everything. And then we won't all think you're a twat when you can't do it. Just say, be honesty. I think is honestly the best policy with this sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing is, when I can't do something though, I feel like I need to justify it. Like I have to send people photos and stuff to like prove that I'm not lying, and even when I'm late for work, it's my business. I'm the boss. But if I'm late for work, I feel like I need to send photos of the traffic and stuff so people don't think that I've overslept. It's ridiculous.
That's what I've done. I've done that,
It's so mad. And, even while lockdown's been on, I was getting really down. I was really on my own and I found it really hard I didn't even want to speak to people on Zoom or on the phone. Became really insular. It was very strange. And I naturally turned into taking on loads. I'm a vice chair of a local charity, got heavily involved with that. And it's been amazing. We've done so much stuff, helped hundreds and hundreds of people. But I'd suddenly realised that I actually haven't had a day off for about 6 weeks. And
wow.
And I actually had to put my foot down yesterday and say, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. And it was so hard. I cried in a Zoom meeting because, and I, with the other execs of the charity. And I just thought to myself, hang on a minute, this isn't okay. First of all, why on earth have you taken on so much that you're now crying? But I already feel so much better today because I can do things back in my time again. And this is the only time in our lives where things will slow down, because as soon as everything does get back up and running, can you imagine another time when anything is going to slow down? We're all going to be needing to work at 190 miles an hour once we can.
I know. Yeah.
So I need to try and make the most of it.
Yeah. And then you've got, like you said earlier, about your biological clock.
God.
And this is something that men we don't have to worry about that. Whereas women, I think, as human beings, our point on this earth is to procreate, isn't it? And because the woman has to deal with the majority of all of the work, the man does his bit and then he buggers off. But it's understanding that, because men don't really understand it, I don't think.
Well, no, they don't. They have a responsibility. I think that, first of all, I do hate that thing that, we've only got 1 point to put here to procreate, because it makes anybody who has the choice of not wanting children sound like they've failed their point on being on the planet. So I don't.
But but what I meant was that's fundamentally that's part of what we're here. But that's not. You don't have to adhere to that.
No, absolutely not. And men do have the privilege of time. Women don't have the privilege of time, and that's tricky. And it's a huge amount of pressure. And also, if you date somebody now, they're fully aware of your age, and they're before they've even met you and gotten to know you, to know what your choices are and like what you'd actually quite like, whether you would like children or not have children. They've probably made a choice that, oh God, can't go out with her because they're going to start thinking kids in the next year or whatever. That's a huge amount of pressure for both of you. And also it's the men that are messing. A lot of my girlfriends, I haven't been dating for a couple of years now. I've stayed away from it for quite a while. And the women that I know that they're having huge amounts of trouble with men that are properly messing them around. And these are women that do want kids and do want to get into relationships. And I do sometimes think that men have a responsibility to be sensitive and aware to women that are in their late 30s. That it's fine for them to want to have kids. That's absolutely no problem. Just don't dick them about and waste their time. you know, because it is precious. And, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, you can have kids well into your 40s now, but it certainly isn't easier. And also the financial problem of it all. I know some of my girlfriends who are considering freezing eggs and that kind of stuff. I mean, that costs thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah. And it's that, like we talk about so even if you make, you know, you just, I don't want kids. It's not what I want to do with my life, because it does become your life, doesn't it? Once you have a kid, that's it. It's your life becomes that child. And some people don't want to do that, not for selfish reasons. They're just like, no, I don't want to do that. But you've still got that feeling of time running out.
Yeah.
Even if you make that decision, and that must be really difficult to deal with.
It is when you're also, I mean, I have no idea whether I'd like children or not. I definitely don't want to have children on my own. I'd only ever want to have kids from love. I think if I really love someone and I felt, oh, do you know what, this is right for us, I think I'd much rather adopt, because I just love little people. I think they're hilarious. But also, you know, a lot of my friends never wanted children, but they want a family. And that made me laugh. They're like, I've got to go through the hell so I can enjoy having a family later, which I think is quite an interesting point of view, because the thought of, I just really don't know where I stand. I change my opinion on it every single day. I just hope that when I do finally come to a decision, I'm able to have it. I certainly don't want to be an old lady and regret anything. That would be awful.
No.
Plus, I've got so many amazing stories to tell my grandchildren. Like, so much stuff has happened. You know, it's like I've got to tell them to someone, unless I can borrow someone else's.
You have to be that special auntie.
Yeah, exactly. Story time with Lizzy. Come over, Granny Lizzy.
But what does it feel like? I know this is a very basic question, but what does it feel like to have that feeling of time running out? Like, do you know what I mean? Does it?
Yeah,
because I don't understand.
Anxiety inducing, isn't it? I mean, Christ, you know, it's everything's anxiety inducing. I mean, you know, every day you find another wrinkle or a grey hair, you think, God, if I did meet somebody, you know, tomorrow, they're never going to see me at my best. But then you think, no, this is a new best.
Yeah,
you know, it's just different. I'm certainly I think I'm a lot happier, a lot more fun, and, you know, I'd definitely be a lot more joyful to be around in a relationship now than I would have been, you know, 12 years ago. So, you know, you're going to get a better side of me and a better version of me. I think that it comes in waves, you know, like the Corona coaster. You know, it's the biological clock coaster. Some days I really don't even think about it. I'm busy, you know, and but I don't want to ignore it either, and wake up one day and suddenly be, oh my God, why didn't I get on this and spend a bit more time thinking about it? Why was I just thinking about the business and making money and, you know, other things that should be a priority, you know? It's a tough one, Rich. I really don't know what the answer is to that. No. I think that some days I don't even consider it, and other days I question my own. Do you know what? I think sometimes when I do feel the anxiety of it, it pushes me into a corner of me going, well, I don't want it. I don't want kids. And that's not cool either, because that's not a genuine feeling. That's coming from a pressured, you know, that's a pressured response.
Yes.
You know, it's tough.
It's that. You know, because we read things and we're looking, and you see bits in articles in magazines and talking about the biological clock and ticking away, and they make you think sometimes that women are constantly thinking, oh shit, and that, like you've just said, that's not really the case.
No, it's not.
You know, no,
it's not, because there's just so much I want to do in my life, and if children come into it, that's going to change all those plans and create different plans. So, you know, the vision that I've got will be different. It doesn't mean that the vision I have now is lacking, because it's not. The vision I have now means I'm going to be living the life of bloody Riley. You know, I can't wait to get on I know I shouldn't say this because of the carbon footprint, but if I ain't having kids, I'm getting on a plane.
Yeah, bloody right, mate. Yeah.
You know, it's like there's so much to do, and you know, the future doesn't look bleak without children, for Christ's sake.
No,
but because the whole thing will change if I do. So you know, I think you know, I mean, I need to just focus on getting someone to try and have a second date with me first.
oh mate, oh. Well, mate, you never know. They might listen to this and go, "You'll be inundated."
Oh God, I think they're going to think, who's that crackpot? But you know, I mean, the fact that now we're down to Zoom dating. I mean, geez, Louise. Can you imagine just everybody putting in the background of their picture all like their coolest records and like?
Of course they will. Of course they will. Because you have to physically put in, like, because when we meet that person for the first time, we are trying to portray the best versions of ourselves, aren't we? You know, we don't. Yeah, it's not. It's later on when they see you walking around in your egg-stained pajamas.
Oh God, which is, let's be honest, every day at the moment. But like the dating scene, the dating scene is so bleak right now. I mean, it's so dismissive. I just don't want to be a part of it at the moment. I'm so into, if I fancy someone in real life, I have no problem going up to them and saying hello. I think that, especially I think now that we've all been in isolation, I do wonder how much it will change. Because people are going to be so desperate to talk to each other when we can finally actually approach each other. It's just going to be like a mass orgy in the streets. It's going to be ridiculous. So,
I can't wait. I can't wait to touch people.
Oh my God. You know, I was at the charity the other day. We've opened up a food hub and I accidentally shook someone's hand and we were both wearing gloves. But I just introduced myself and did it and we both went... and looked at each other and then I was just like, oh my God. And I realised it was the first time I'd touched someone in nearly 2 months. It was mad.
Jesus.
But it literally made my heart race. I was like, wow, God, geez, things are going to get fun.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
We're looking for a sponsor to help get this brilliant conversation to an even bigger audience. Sponsoring the show, as well as a promotional trailer, means that your message and our message will be inserted into some of Acast's biggest podcast titles. Get on board and partner with Insane in the Fembrain. Go to pauldaniels.tv for more information.
We're going back to what we were talking about with the body clock and things like that. And please forgive me if all this sounds a bit basic, but like I said at the beginning, we're starting from the beginning. Like I'm going to talk to women and I'm going to find out what it's like to be a woman, and I'm basing all my questions are from what I've been told as I've grown up and found out. So I might be right, I might be wrong. I'm a bit all over the place with it. But we're talking about the body clock. And then your body's always preparing to have a baby, and then it doesn't have one, and then you have your period, and then you start again. And that is something that men don't really understand. We just know that women get a bit annoyed every couple of weeks. You know, and I know that sounds cliche, and I'm dealing with, I'm talking about stereotypes.
You're fucking shit.
But now I'm asking.
My period.
I'm just saying. This is the point of this podcast.
Go for it, babe.
That's why I'm asking these questions. That's what I'm trying to show, that I do understand, but I don't understand.
I mean, you're never going to understand. Let's be real. Like it's you can try, which is great, and I admire you highly. But until you're dealing with that every single month, and you have a cycle where you genuinely, in your whole cycle, I mean, it depends from woman to woman, but for mine, for example, there's actually 7 days in a whole month where I feel okay.
Yeah. Oh, really? So it's that constant. That
it's constant. It's a constant thing. Like if you start tracking it, that's when and I recommend all women do this. There's loads of apps you can get on your phone, even just like the health app on an iPhone. Yeah. You can track it, and it really helps with your mental health. Actually, if you think, why am I pissed off today? Why am I sad today? Why did that thing really niggle at me today? And then if you just happen to look, you think, oh, right. And it suddenly is a reason for you to maybe not be so hard on yourself. And I hate that, like, I've got some girlfriends that we talk about it a lot, because I feel like as I get older now, I'm far more comfortable speaking about it. I think that when you're young, a young woman, it's all about, being attractive, and in your 20s, you're just all about, you know, well, I know when I was in my 20s, I was just living loose and fancy free, and I didn't want to talk about periods, for God's sake, especially with guys. But now I couldn't give a shit at talking about it. It happens. No. I have to say, when I've been in relationships with men, though, it's never been it's just never really been discussed, to be honest, which definitely, looking back, is pretty shit, because it's a massive part of being who I am and who every woman is, I guess. But it's not like I sit there every month, though, and think to myself, it's my period time, everyone. I mean, I've been dealing with this since I was 13. Okay, it's a long time to get used to something.
Yeah. Well, we don't get told about it. Well, we never used to. It was never explained. It was told to us. We knew it happened.
It's dirty. It's gross. It's like all this stuff, but it's not, though. That's the thing. I think when you're dealing with it yourself, it's just really not gross. It's like, everyone looks at shit and thinks it's gross. Well, it's been inside your body. Do you know what I mean? It can't be that disgusting.
Yeah. And it's that, but I think men, in order to, when we're in a relationship, men need to understand that it isn't a bad thing, and we need to know, so we know what to do when it starts, and because all we get told is, well, keep her out of the way, she's got her period, that.
Well, that doesn't help, does it? These
exactly.
Stupid comments that, I mean, women have, I don't know if that's ever going to, sorry, my dog's dreaming in the background. He's having a nightmare and he just started squeaking.
Oh, no.
I just don't know if that's ever going to stop, to be honest. I certainly hope that young men, if they hear their friends say stuff like that, call them out on it and just say, you're literally talking shit. Women deserve a bit more credit for that. I think that, it's a tough one. I don't know. I think that men getting frustrated with women when they're in a bad mood doesn't help. And men only ever saying that women are in a bad mood because of their period doesn't help either. I can just be in a bad mood because you've royally fucked me off.
That's what Jay just said.
Yeah. So it's not always because I've got my period, for fuck's sake. Sometimes you have your period and you don't even think about it. Sometimes you might have a really good month where it literally comes and goes and you didn't even have a moment about it. Your eggs come from alternate ovaries every month, and a lot of women, especially as you get older, find that one particular ovary you get a worse period, and it's and so I tend to alternate in months which one is worse. And some months you can actually feel the egg pop out of your ovary. I know that sounds disgusting, but you can feel when you're ovulating.
Right, yeah.
That's only happened to me as I've gotten older. Like since I was about 33, that started happening. And but like the symptoms of it are getting worse as I get older. So that's all fun, isn't it? That's fun while we've got all that pressure to suddenly procreate. Oh, and don't worry, we've then got menopause to cope with. So let's see what men say about that.
I know.
It's a lot. But I don't blame men because they don't know. I mean, there's a fear of the unknown, isn't it? I don't blame men for not understanding. I blame men for not being interested, and I blame men for the fact that talking about it now with you feels like, oh God, do people really want to hear about my periods? Probably not. But at the same time, if I don't say it or no one else says it, then when are we going to talk about it? So, good for you for at least bringing it up. I think it's important.
It's just that it's trying to find a place where we can understand and be more helpful. Because I know with Jade, it's that, like she'll get like the fifth one is the one, it's the big one. Whereas there's a few, like you say, they're different every time, but there's always one that's monumentally epic, and we fall out, and she's like, "Fuck off, stay here. I love you. Fuck off." She doesn't know what she wants me to do. I don't know what to do, and then I'm reacting badly because I feel bad, and then I feel like she's having a go at me for no reason. And so what I'm trying to do is trying to find an understanding with it all. I mean, we don't have answers. We don't know, but because it varies with everybody. But it's.
I mean, it's easier,
Yeah.
you know, when they come some months where they're literally debilitating, for example, and say you're in so much pain, you literally are puking, and you know, I've been sick. You know, you have to be in bed all day.
Yeah.
You know, that's easier to deal with, isn't it? That means you can care. You can fill the hot water bottle up. You can bring a nice cup of tea and some paracetamol, and you know, that's so much easier to comfort someone who's obviously in pain than someone who's obviously angry and for what you think is no reason. It's a lot harder to treat. You know, I think that you being aware of Jade's cycle, for example, would help that. So even if she can't find the words, like, because maybe she's unaware of what's happening, at least for you've tuned yourself into it as well. So at least you can have the moment, you know, you might be able to just go, oh, catch yourself and go, I know why this is happening. Yeah. And you know, but you know, do you know Jade's cycle?
Well, I did. When we first started seeing each other, I knew it was round about the 20th of the month when shit was going to start getting a bit fraught. And so I was very much aware. But then, you know, nature being what it is, it shifts and it moves. And it does, yes, at the moment.
Why don't you on your phone track her cycle like women do?
Oh yeah, it's a good idea.
Because you know, it's 28 days for some women, but it changes all the time.
Yeah.
So why don't you track it too? And then you know, it's on your phone, and then you've got an ongoing conversation about it.
Yeah, we were just talking, Jade, about periods and how you can have a tracker on your phone. Maybe I should have one on my phone.
You can have it.
There you are. We were saying a nice thing, Jade. Have you got your period? You've been very annoyed.
No.
Rich, you're not to say that questioning. You should have just asked the question. Do you have your period? Do you not go, have you got your period? Come on now, Rich.
I was joking.
Yeah.
Just want to interject here, guys. I've been tracking Louise's for the last couple of years.
Have you? Paul?
It's a repeating diary thing, but I didn't realise you could do it with the health app. I thought
do it on the health app. It's super easy.
Yeah, because I have to move it every month. It's just like a bit out, and it does help me realise that she's not being a complete unreasonable psychopath.
Well, that's good to know that you're not with someone who is that.
There you go.
But also, what it also does is it tells you when you're fertile, which is always good for you because you know that coming up to that's when you want to get in the bone zone. So, you know, you can take full advantage of that and get your freak on.
Oh,
fantastic.
There you go. Amazing. I'm going to do that. After we do. Yeah. It's a brilliant idea, and I don't know why men don't do that.
Well,
or anyone in a
it's just you, Rich. I think
it's just me. So this
Paul
podcast.
Got the memo.
So this podcast is pointless. It's just everyone already knows.
Well, this is what it's here for, isn't it? It's to educate you.
Just me. It's just me. Everyone's gonna listen to this going, who's this bell end? We already know this.
Been doing that for years.
It's called survival, Richie. It's called survival. I'm going to do that. That's a great idea. And men should do that. And if they listen to this and they are doing that, then well done you cocky twat.
Pat on the back.
Yeah,
Props
well done.
Well, you think about, look at pregnancy for all the men that I know now whose partners are going through pregnancy. I think there's a lot more. I mean, it's fantastic. A lot of them have stopped drinking throughout the whole 9 months to in solidarity with their partners. They've gone to every single meeting, doctor's appointment, and gotten so fully involved and educated in what's happening with the child. So,
yes.
The period is about women's health. I mean, I care about men's health. So, it's and all things to do with the female reproductive system there's just not enough funding when it comes to any form of research. Endometriosis is a huge problem that, my friend is constantly lobbying at the government that there should be more funding and more availability for women to have sick leave for fertility issues and for especially with endometriosis because it's so painful.
Right, okay.
And that isn't available. And I think that, I just think that if men are getting involved with pregnancy, they should be involved with what will lead to that pregnancy too, in terms of all reproductive health is important, just as much for men and women. It need, men need to
definitely.
be checking their balls. Women need to be, going for their smear tests and checking their cervical health. And, it works both ways. Like, let's just get, like you say, Rich, at the very beginning, let's just talk to each other.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
all bodies.
Yeah.
We're all, isn't that amazing? We're all bodies and we're
Yeah.
fantastic. And you think, God, how lucky are we, that if, you're fully functioning, and it's just incredible how our bodies work and function. And it's fascinating. So find out.
Yeah,
Discover.
absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I love people. I love finding out about people, and I'm fascinated with how we work and how we work together. And
Yeah, me too.
what you've just, endometriosis is a word that comes up quite a bit. And I remember being in a relationship with someone that had it, but didn't really know what it was. Now is that where, I don't know what it is to describe it. I know
It's a problem with your womb lining, and
Right, okay.
it builds up, and it can lead to polycystic ovaries, lots of cysts, and basically it can lead to you being infertile, and it makes periods incredibly painful. And I mean, for some women, if they do finally manage to get pregnant with it, I think it's level 1 to 4 or level 1 to 5, you can have endometriosis. And if you get to level 4, it can become very difficult to have children.
Really?
And having a baby can sometimes cure it, which is fantastic. But it's a massive problem that needs to be checked out. And I know that it seems to be, the cynics out there will go, oh, it's the new flavour of the month, literally, endometriosis. But the reason is no one talks about it.
No. The relationship I was in it's like 20 odd years ago now. So, that was the one person I've ever met that's ever mentioned it. It hasn't been mentioned until actually last year. I met somebody else that has got it and does a lot of work in that field trying to raise awareness about
Well, if we don't
endometriosis.
talk about periods, how are you supposed to know whether your period is abnormal to someone else's?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be in so much pain.
No.
And the pain, it is just absolutely, I've said debilitating now about 1 million times, but it is. And it's not okay. And it doesn't have to be that way. If it's caught early enough, there are ways that you can treat it.
Oh, really?
And,
so it is treatable then? Yeah, all right.
It is treatable, but if it's caught early, with some things, it's a lot of just pain management, a lot of it. And, you just have to be constant checking that you're not getting extra cysts and things. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on this at all. I'm just aware from what my own friends have had. So don't quote me on this really, but it's just something that I'm aware of, within my own kind of reproductive health.
I think there's definitely more information. And men, I think, because I'm only going by my own experience, so, I'm a middle-aged man, so it's been different for me. I don't know if it's different now for a lot of younger men. They're told a bit more about stuff, but as far as I'm aware, they're not told things unless they ask. And I tell you what, change the subject a little bit. What still blows my mind is the fact that women still have to pay for tampons, which is a thing.
I know.
Which I know is a big thing.
We've just had tax removed from them, haven't we? Which is good. But it's crazy. But tampons also now aren't the ideal choice. A lot of women are thinking more about environmental health. Also, again, for reproductive health, tampons sometimes aren't, a great thing. It can cause TSS and all sorts. But there's all kinds of other things that you can use now, but they're expensive. Everything's expensive. It's bitterly unfair. And period poverty in this country is rife. And that is just so distressing for me. And especially, times like this now, it's not just the people who, a lot of people who are on benefits that they haven't financially been affected necessarily by COVID. It's people that have gone from earning who suddenly have found themselves not earning anything and don't know how to ask for help. That I'm finding working for this charity quite fascinating how many people who are normally would be seen as always financially stable who suddenly aren't, but have no way of going, I need a helping hand here. What's available to me? I know that a lot of schools are making sure that they give out period products to all girls now, which is
Oh, really?
super. Yeah, I think that came in recently. But, you know, God, isn't that just horrendous?
Yeah.
It breaks
Yeah.
my heart. It really does. I feel very lucky that, you know, I had, I think, well, my sisters were the ones that I would talk to about that. My mum, not quite so much. But, yeah, I feel very lucky that my poor mum got her period when she was 8.
What?
Can you imagine?
Bloody hell.
Back in the 60s, she thought she was dying.
Yeah, I bet she
Didn't
did.
tell anyone for 3 months.
God.
Can you imagine how scared she was?
And it's nature. It is. It's going to happen. So I don't know why. Well, it's probably different now, but I don't know why people like. I was in the supermarket the other day, and there was a guy stood in front of the tampons and all the sanitary products. And he was umming and ahhing. I could see him around, so I went, because with the social distancing thing. So I walked round the aisle and I thought I'll come back in a minute. And when I came back, he was still there. And I'm like, "Are you all right, mate?" And he was bright red, crimson. And he went, "Oh yeah, I just like he couldn't even buy the what he needed for his partner or whoever it was for." And I was like, "Mate, no one's going to think these are yours. You can get these. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Are you all right?" And it stopped him in his tracks. And, you know, I went like, "Mate, just whatever, just grab them, buy them. You're going to be fine." Men, it's still that stigma of, "Oh God, I can't buy these." You know.
But women are like that too, though. I mean, there's definitely times where I've been in the shop and I've looked at the person serving me, and if it's a young guy, I can see him going red when he picks up a box of tampons, and it's embarrassing for me. It's like, oh, for God's sake, now you know that I'm on my bloody period. For fuck's sake.
And it shouldn't be that way. It's just a natural thing.
No, and I've also been in shops. I mean, literally, even during lockdown, I went to a local shop and I was at the counter, and I wasn't buying anything, but he picked up a pack of sanitary towels and handed it over to a colleague, going, "Here you are, mate. You need to go and put those back." Like it was going to embarrass him in front of me.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, "You dick! I literally don't care." What the hell?
Yeah.
And it was like this, like little joke that they had between them, and I was thinking, "Oh dear." Oh dear.
Oh God!
You're gonna have, when you finally get laid, you're going to have quite a shock.
Oh man, this is it. We need to stop being embarrassed and actually talk to each other and get rid of that sort of stigma that because it's just a natural thing, you know, for men and women. So women don't feel embarrassed that they're having to buy things like that. You know, I don't know, man. It's complicated, isn't it?
Like you say, I do myself feel a lot more comfortable buying it if there's a woman on the till than I do a man on the till, which is awful. And I shouldn't say that. And I know loads of my friends would be listening to this going, "Shut up, Lizzie, don't be daft. You're 36 years old." But, you know, I'm just being honest. Sometimes I do. Depends how mature the other person is.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I'm saying about, we should talk to each other. I think the only reason I'm able to speak to you about this is because I know you. I don't know if I'd be able to have this conversation with somebody that I didn't know. Like I spoke to someone yesterday, another episode we recorded, and this didn't come up because I suppose because I feel comfortable with you. You know, there's that as well. If you don't really know that person.
Well, it might actually be interesting to talk to someone that you don't know about it and see how giving they are with their information. I think that might be a closer test as to how we are at being able to open up about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It might be a worthy experiment.
And that's why we're doing this. So old Wilson can learn a thing or two. Finally. Yeah, it's only it's only taken me 48 years.
Oh Lord, Lordy Lord.
I know. So, but you're all right. You said you had counselling. This comes up a lot actually, and I've had counselling as well, and I heartily recommend it to everybody. Even if you think there isn't a lot wrong, go and talk to someone just to
I couldn't agree more.
Just to flatten out a few things.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just good for you to check in with yourself once a week, completely, like just in a completely focused way. And I mean, I've been seeing counsellors, I guess, since I was about 18, 19 and on and off. But when therapy really started actively moving mountains for me in terms of the way I felt about myself and, my own role within my life and my relationships with my friends, my family, myself, was when I started going I was having 2 sessions a week.
Right.
And that was amazing. That's when things really, really changed. And now I don't actually have it at all anymore. I'm having a break because of COVID.
Okay.
We did do it on the phone for a bit, but it's a financial obligation, isn't it? And
Yes.
I can't afford to do it at the moment, which is pretty tricky. So I'm kind of like, this is a tough circumstance, and to suddenly not have that is I'm wondering how that's going to fare in the long run. For now, at the moment, I'm fine. I've got a lovely toolbox of coping mechanisms that I've learned over the last few years, but I couldn't recommend it enough. As you say, you don't have to necessarily go, oh, something dramatic happened to me, therefore I must have therapy. It's about learning about yourself. And as you said earlier, asking questions and you are fascinating. Everyone is fascinating. And we've all had different walks of life, and we all have different roles to play. And it's learning about the way we play them to make sure that you get the most out of your life. You only live once. And I really think that therapy is an amazing way of making the most of it.
You're absolutely right. And that is a wonderful way to finish. Lizzy, this has been incredible. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rich, honestly.
It's going to be, I can't wait for people to hear this. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I've been honest. If not everyone agrees with me, that's fine. So
it's great. Where can we find you, Lizzy? Are you online? You on any social media stuff?
Yeah. You can follow my cafe, Lizzy's on the Green. That's Lizzy with a Y. Very important. I get very angry when people spell my name Lizzie. So yeah, we're doing a crowdfunder at the moment to try and help my business get through COVID-19. So you can find that at crowdfunder.co.uk/help-Lizzies.
Produced by Paul Daniels at pauldaniels.tv.
I'm Amy.
I'm Louise.
Join us for your next episode.
And today, personally, I'm completely overexcited to be in the home of Arabella Weir.
My mother, on her deathbed, literally goes, "Have you any idea how fattening mayonnaise is?"
God.
And I went, "Mum, you're dying." And she went, "Yes, but you're eating mayonnaise." And I went, "Well, we both know which you think is worse."
We're at the News Building, home of the Times and the Sunday Times, to interview Lorraine Candy.
She just looked at me, my eldest, and said, "What would you know about fashion?"
No! Oh my God!
Literally my job. For the last 30 years.
Oh, wow. God.
Join us for your next episode.
Buy your favourite podcast app.
Thank you for contributing to the conversation as well, because your podcast is great, and I listen to it on the way to work.